to my channel. So as you can tell by the title, I am preparing to homeschool my kids, and in the preparation of doing so, I decided to go to a homeschooling conference. Now I know there is a lot of information online, but I get extremely overwhelmed and almost to the point where I'd be like, I don't know if I can do this. Right. So I knew that I needed to get some sort of training or something from what I feel were vets, right? And so I do have a couple of women here in Waco where I am who I have talked to about homeschooling and stuff like that. And so I was told about this conference probably last year and decided I need to go. So it was a 3-day conference. It's the Greater Homeschool Convention. It was a 3-day convention. And it was held at a resort. And so that's good for people who travel. They do these conventions, I think about 5 or 6 states, across 5 or 6 states. So if people are traveling, they have hotel stays, they get discounts and different things like that. It was huge. It was really huge. And if you want to go as an individual, it was $79.99. If you want to go with a family, it was only $10 more at $89.99. So your family would include you, your spouse, your children, and the grandparents of those children. They can all come under one ticket. I really love the first page, and I just want to read it to you. It says, as you are most likely aware, we are Christians. Though our Christian faith helps guide how we structure the convention, we do not require that speakers and exhibitors must be in total agreement with our statement of faith. So whereas we will not schedule a speaker or approve an exhibitor that is specifically anti-Christian, we do have speakers and exhibitors who are not specifically Christian, but that do provide knowledge, information, and or curriculum that is applicable and valuable for homeschoolers, both Christian and non-Christian. Accordingly, you should note that we do not necessarily endorse everything you may find in the exhibit hall or that you may hear in a seminar or workshop session. Because this is an education forum, we do not propose to filter everything, allowing you to see or hear only what we have approved. We believe that you, as parent educators, are very capable of judging and making intelligent decisions for yourself and for your family. Please be sure to spend time in the exhibit hall and more stuff like that, right? And so I really did enjoy that because even though, again, it is a Christian convention, they're not saying this is what you need to be teaching your child as a Christian. They give the floor, or, they give people the floor to tell their experiences and leave it up to us, right? As we should be able to make these decisions for our families. I mentioned exhibit halls, so there was also an exhibit hall for you to buy a ton of stuff. Like they had curriculums, they had toys, games with the book. Gives the schedule. I did want to share a couple of things with you all that helped my confidence in going into this new journey. My focus was on starting my homeschooling journey and like emotional, spiritual encouragement and tools and stuff, right, that's going to be needed. So for the first day, I really focused on the schooling portion. And so the 3 that I went to was launching your homeschool journey, helping mom craft and create a thoughtfully designed curriculum, and you can homeschool your neurodivergent child. They were really focused on the fact that you're taking your child out of school. Do not set your home up like a school. So we're taking our kids out of school, but then sometimes we tend to say, what would the school do? How do I need to do what the school does? And I need to set it up like this. That's like the first mistake that you can make, because you have your reasons for your children not going to traditional schooling. Keep at that. Knowing your why is important when it comes to people who are on the outside, not only with answering those questions for people and family members, but also feeling confident in why you're doing what you're doing. If you have like knowing, okay, for me, I'll tell you my why. So I have, my eldest son is 7. He has autism. He was diagnosed at 3. And so I feel like with his schooling, I don't know, I kind of feel like in some cases he is being babied, and in other cases I feel like he's being put in environments that are not good for his progress, like good for his growth, right? And so one of the things that the you can homeschool your neurodivergent child, so neurodivergent, right, is mine, is she said, think about when your children are in school, and in this case, Denzel's autistic. When your children are in school and you have all of this stuff written out, I will never forget the first time we got Denzel's like written out diagnosis of the things that he could and he couldn't do. Like, I was looking at the page like, will he be successful? Like, you know, it can be really discouraging. It can be really saddening, right? And it says, imagine, you know, you write down all these things. You have ARD meetings or IEPs or 504s, right? You have all these meetings and you see all this stuff of what your child cannot do. And they say and they speak and they say, well, your child is different. And we know that he's not on the same level. But they have all these goals of trying to reach the level of the children who are his age. And it's like, okay, we say that he's different, we know that, but for whatever reason, you're forced and focused to try to put him with the normal kids, right? Or keep them on track as regular kids. So you're doing all of these things and focusing on all of these things that they can't do because they need to keep up, although we know that they're different, right? And they don't get to do any of like the fun stuff. It's all focused on what you can't do and repetition doing that. Now, I do understand the importance of that. Trust me, when Denzel was 3, we did all of that, you know, to kind of get him on track and stuff like that. But we're also a family who believes that when you come home, it's time for you to relax. It's time for you to woosah. You've been gone for 7-8 hours a day. We don't want to come home and have our children doing what we feel should have been done at the school. Yes, I know that you do stuff at home. I'm always doing stuff at home with my kids, but we don't feel that we should be teaching while they have teachers, if you get what I'm saying. And so that is part of my why. And let's move over to my son, Saint, who is not autistic, but I feel that he is really smart and almost advanced, right? And so we did have him in a private Montessori school, right? But the thing about Montessori learning is that although the teachers direct it, it is kind of children-led, right? And so whereas the Saint could be probably a little ahead of where he is because you ask the students, you know, well, are you ready to move on? If they say no and they want to keep working on something, then they keep working on that. And I didn't like that. I love giving children a voice, but I also don't believe in, oh, he's so cute and he didn't want to, you know, move. And it's like, I don't care how cute he is. I want him reading, you know, and so. And also I have a 2-year-old. She hasn't started school yet, but she is learning so much being here with mom. When it comes to curriculums, there are 5 different types of curriculums that a person can choose from. So there's traditional, unit studies, classical, Charlotte Mason, unschooling. Unschooling to me sounds like Reggio Emilio, and unit studies to me sounds more like closer to Montessori schooling. Just for those of you who know those 2 terminologies. Remember, I got my degree in this, so I know a little bit. You have state standards. Whatever state you're in, they have standards. All that matters is that you're hitting these standards. It may look different. Math may be traditional when you start, but then it may go to classical, or then it may go to unschooling. But the thing is, it does not matter which curriculum. You only need the standards. Another thing that I really enjoyed was, what do you teach? So for children, I have little, so for children, play. Play is very important. To be able to craft their learning around playing is what's going to help. Knowing that a child's attention span is their age plus 2 to 3 minutes, right? So let's say I shouldn't go over teaching a new concept for more than 10 minutes. Now, this is also my schooling coming back, right? So we learned in school that whenever you're teaching somebody something, you need to give it time to transfer from the short-term memory to its long-term memory. So you teach something according to their age. Let's say Saint is 5. So I'm going to teach something about 7 to 8 minutes, right? And then he'll either do activities that comes after that, or he'll occupy himself with something else. But what happens is he's doing something that's not making him have to think and solve and understand something, which is giving time for the new information to settle, to kind of go over and over again and move from the short-term memory over to the long-term memory, right? So being sure not to interrupt them transferring that by saying, okay, you need to learn this, you need to learn that, pacing yourself, right? So school is about 60% crowd control. When at home, it's not going to take 7 to 8 hours. Right. So play is very important. Doing everything around play, making sure to pay attention to their attention span. Reading. So under reading, you have reading, of course, and then you have spelling, and handwriting. So reading, spelling, and handwriting, all of that goes under reading. And then you have math. Now, when it comes to science and history, you basically sprinkle those in while learning other stuff. So if we're learning of spelling, or we're learning of how to say words or reading words, then you may have a history book, right? A small history book for children, and they're learning about history, but the focus is on reading the words and learning the words and understanding what's being read. So at the end of one of these sessions, they asked one of the speakers, what would you do different? One of the biggest things she said, I would have fun. I would have a lot of fun. They didn't have as much fun as they could have had. Like taking them out of school, the world is supposed to be their school, not a room, not boxed in, right? And so she regretted not using everything that the Lord has given us to be able to teach our children, right? She kind of still had that mindset of, I know that I'm not taking them to school, but they're going to school, and this is what school looks like. She was saying, don't do that. Don't do that. Also talked about like ways to make sure to keep you mentally there, right? And so to expect to be frustrated, like we're all learning together, right? And so also remembering that if something is not working for you and or your child, then that's good, because you've just learned one thing that doesn't work. So now you can focus on all the other things that you haven't tried. But you know for sure this one thing is not working. So basically that failure is not a bad thing. You have to start looking at failure as you getting closer and closer to your goals. They also talked about making sure to celebrate every day, right? Doing stuff like if you need to create a journal that writes down the funny stuff that your children did, because you may need it on those days where you're feeling like they're not learning anything, I'm not being a great teacher, and I just feel like this is pointless and I want them to go to school. You're going to need those joys of saying, okay, we have fun in here. Some days are hard, but anything worth something is going to be a struggle, right? I'm kind of going through the rain. Anything worth something is going to be hard. It's not going to be easy to do. So remembering that and anticipating that you're going to be frustrated, but finding ways and knowing ways to be able to get over that frustration. Okay, so on the second day, I really want to focus more so on like mental wellness. 3 sessions that I went to was parenting the incredible child, transforming strong emotions into a superpower, discipline with love so we don't break our child's spirits, and reclaiming the mother healer so your peace becomes your child's first health lesson. And I'm going to start with that one because there was one thing that she said that just was like, you can make a mom fearful. You can control everything that she does. We have gotten so far away from being in control because there are people who have degrees, and because she's a speech pathologist, or she's a went to school and she has her master's in teaching. It's like, yeah, but that's your child. You're a child. Like, you know what I'm saying? You're a child. So be confident in knowing your child. Don't get so comfortable with other people telling you things that you can't trust yourself when it comes to raising your kids. And hers was more so about health and illness and stuff like that. So I won't dive too much into that. So I'm just going to read this because heavy, okay? And so it says, it is God's perfect plan for his imperfect children to raise imperfect children. It's hard raising kids. It's hard raising kids. It's hard raising kids. It's hard being a person. So yes, it's hard raising human beings, right? If there's an issue, you take the problem and you sit it in front of y'all, right? So you say, here's an attitude that you and I need to fix. Right? And so what it does is it takes away from the individual feeling all the negative things that can come along with it, but it puts focus on the thing that really needs to be improved. We represent God to our children, whether we like it or not. We are their first gods, okay? How would God treat you? That is how you would treat your child. So, not to excuse disobedience, but we do fail over and over again. We have to be that security when they fail. Where would we be if we was to go to God and be like, okay, hey, I know I was supposed to do that, but I did it again. And he goes, you know what? That was your last time. I'm sick of it. I'm done. Don't ever call me no more. I don't want to talk to you no more. Don't come to me. Don't do none of that stuff. I'm done. What would we do and where would we be without God's grace, without his mercy? And they were saying that you have to be like that when it comes to your children. We're teaching them how people should talk to them. We're teaching them how people should accept them, how people should hear them. We have to be soft as a mom. You have to be soft and you have to be understanding, and you have to say, okay, it goes back to like anticipating frustration. You have to anticipate doing wrong. As adults, we do wrong all the time. When you have children, you have to anticipate that, and you can't go at them for being children and learning, how to be as smart as they are, as they're growing and they're learning how to do these things. So we have to be a representation of God with our children. Time can pierce the heart with either love or betrayal. And so she and the emotions ones that I went to before her, she really talked about like how important it is to see where your children are, right? To see where they are and meet them where they are and apologize to them. Acknowledge their feelings. Acknowledge their feelings, right? And then correct later. Always, always, always model grace. The miracle of atonement is about this power that can heal things that are out of our control to heal. Christ can fix the things that we can't. And so she really starts to get into prayer, right? About sometimes you just gonna have to pray about it. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. There's no amount of words. You're just gonna have to pray about it and give it to God. Okay. Talked about how there are many methods if you want to start and stop. But if you want to shape their heart to a heart of evidence of pleasing the parent and God, then you don't want to lose their respect. After you lose their respect, you lose the ability to influence your child. So some things that you should not be doing is humiliation. We know what that is. Condemnation. Don't overreact. You limit your ability to talk to your children through life and feelings. The atonement is literally for that. Don't condemn them for mistakes. Comparing. Don't do that because it makes them feel less than. You will increase the negative parts. No, I'm not spinning. You will increase the negative parts of what they're feeling as opposed to the positive parts, right? So don't compare to others. Don't compare to siblings. Just don't compare. Fear. Children fear when discipline comes from anger. So as parents, we have to be very slow to anger to be able to get across what it is we're trying to get across. Okay. Dangling punishment shows brokenness with your child. So you basically saying, if you don't do this, I'm gonna make you do this. Don't do that, because then they'll just look for the punishment, or it'll stop working eventually. Basically criticizing the other parent in front of the children, because they'll use that and they will exploit that. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to break your child's spirit, but you do want to correct them, right? You're going to be disappointed. You're going to be disappointed. That's a part of it. God is disappointed in us a lot. But what does he do? He still loves us through it. And that is what we have to do for our children. Always teach your children instead of correcting them. We don't want to hear, I don't want to hear all the stuff that I'm doing wrong all the time. Okay. Our kids don't want to hear that, especially children who are growing and learning how to deal with their emotions and what's right and what's wrong in this world. So being a teacher as opposed to being a corrector is also very, very important when it comes to homeschooling, because you don't want your parents, you don't want your children to dislike you, right? You're trying to teach them, you're becoming frustrated, everybody's frustrated, everybody's mood is sour. We don't want that. We want a nice, happy environment. And so, yeah. So yeah, that is the end of that. I'm very happy that I went there. I do have a couple of things that I did purchase from the exhibit hall that I'm going to share with you all in another video. But yeah, we are on to a new journey of homeschooling. I can't tell you exactly what you're going to get from that or on this chapter from that, but I will be sure to post things about that. So yeah, if you are a homeschooler or if you're thinking about homeschooling, I really do hope that this video has helped you put things into perspective as the convention did for me. The convention is something that they do every year. Choosing one that's close to you, that's something that you're interested in. I would definitely say go to it because I knew I was going to do it, but it did put a confidence in me as a reminder that we're more than capable. I think that's one of the biggest things is we're more than capable of taking care of our children. These are our children and raising them to be good humans in this world. And in doing so, having to look at ourselves as parents when coming in on this new journey. So I appreciate the convention. I do hope that this video was helpful. If you have anything that you would like to say throughout, like from your homeschool journey, I would really love if you left it in the comments. Hearing different things just kind of helps me. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll try to answer them as much as possible. I have a ton of notes. I wasn't trying to like overwhelm anybody with this, but if you have any questions, let me know and I'll be sure to answer them. And I'll see you beautiful people on my next video. Peace and blessings.